House needs painting, grass needs mowing, where's he at?
Hi, this is Hank. Sorry I missed your call. Leave me your name and your number and I'll get back to you.
He's gone fishing.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Mossy Oak and Liqua Molly.
Welcome to Off the Water with Hank Parker. I'm your co-host, Sarah Beth, and you are?
Hello, Sarah Beth. I'm Hank Parker, and we are going to have a great podcast today. I'm excited.
Sure are. I'm excited, too. We got some very interesting topics.
Oh, man. Hey, I spent 4 hours earlier today in a meeting with one of the top fishing tackle manufacturers in the world, and we talked about what is going on in the marketplace, what the future kind of looks like. It's such a moving target. Nobody really knows where we're going, whereas 10 years ago, the president of this company said 10 years ago we could chart a course and pretty much set our forecast based on that course, and it was pretty predictable. We may miss it a point or two here, we may gain a point or two here, but overall, it was pretty predictable. Today, you have no idea. It is such a moving target. Things have changed so quickly with social media. Things have changed so quickly with the method of fishing, with the two tournament circuits fighting for the top position, bass and Major League Fishing. Now with the, I can't ever remember the name of it, the new organization, and my buddy Ken Dukes is working with them, which is awesome. Okay. I'll think of it in a minute, but they're a non-forward facing sonar tournament. You can't use it at all.
Okay.
And so a lot of changes are being made, and it has disrupted the room.
I'm sure it has. That's a pretty bold thing to do.
It has disrupted the classroom, buddy. I mean, somebody got in a fight, and the teacher's in a panic, and the principal's coming, and they're clearing the school ground.
Yep, I can imagine.
And that's what's going on, man. It is no longer predictable. It's no longer where you can set a forecast and pretty much run with that forecast. It's a crazy time. And so where do you fit in? What do you do? How do you combat all these changes? Well, for me, my job has never been to completely understand the market. My job has always been to work on developing, offering input, to make a better fishing product, whether it's a rod and reel, whether it's a lure, whether it's line, whether it's a trolling motor, whether it's a depth finder, whether it's a boat, whether it's an outboard, whatever it is, my job has always been to help solve a problem, fix a problem, and come up with an idea to help people catch fish.
Yes.
So I relate to the consumer. So it is my job when somebody comes out with a better rod and reel to talk about it.
Right.
It's my job when there's a lure that's designed to do a specific job that didn't exist before. It's my job to learn that, know that, and be honest about it, and tell the viewing public.
Right, you do reviews. So like with the new products, you review it. You do reviews.
That's so professional.
And you give everybody the feedback.
I do reviews.
Right.
I like that.
And I will tell y'all, he's honest about it too. I've seen you get some products in here that's like, man, this is a piece of crap. I don't like this one. You know what? Let's not do a video on this one. So I mean, you truly do stick to your word that you sell. And you only put out there to your fans what you truly believe is a good product.
When you are your own commodity, I am my own brand. I'm Hank Parker. If I tell you something that is not credible, you're going to find out about it. If I sell you something that's not going to perform on the level that I say it is, and it doesn't meet your expectations and you're disappointed, the next time you're not going to buy what I tell you.
No, I mean, how does that make you look? I mean, I feel like that's very true in a lot of influencers and marketing. You get sold, a brand reaches out to you, hey, we'll pay you X amount of money if you endorse this product for X amount of time or whatever it is. So then all they're thinking about is, man, if I do this, I'm getting a paycheck. So let me just go ahead and push this product out there without knowing any prior knowledge of the product. Might not have even used it, but they're just putting it out there to you guys. And so you think, oh, well, so-and-so uses this product. I'm going to buy it. Comes in the mail, it falls apart, and you're like, man, this is a piece of crap. And then I feel like that's where the stigma comes around, where people like to say, oh, this person was bought. Or, you can never believe what anybody says anymore because they're just trying to sell you something.
I get a fair share of that. I mean, there's a lot of people that think I'm a fraud. There's a lot of people think that I endorse a product just because I get paid to endorse it. I don't say that I'm not prejudiced when I work for a company. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I want that product to deliver. I want it to work. But I'm very careful, unknowns to most people, I'm very careful not to overstate what a product does. And more times than most people would ever believe, I go back to that company and I say, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. I'm not finding what you're telling me.
Right.
And so I cannot endorse it, Mm-hmm. And I work with Berkeley Trilene Line. And several years ago, they came out with a fluorocarbon called Vanish. And it was the number one selling fluorocarbon line on the market because the price point. I had problems with it. And I thought for a while they may fire me over it because I would not endorse it. Right. I would not. And man, I got in a lot of trouble over it. But I can't look at a person and tell them, hey, you need to try this Vanish because it's an incredible line.
Yeah.
Then they came out with Trilene 100% fluorocarbon, and I went the other way. I'm over the top. Man, that stuff is incredible. I've never had any unexplained breaks. I can tie a knot without it breaking at the knot. I love it. So I bragged a lot on Trilene 100% fluorocarbon, but I didn't ever endorse Vanish. I wouldn't even use it. I had so many problems with it. I just couldn't deal with unexplained breaks. When I'm fishing, I hadn't done anything wrong, and I make a cast and my dang line breaks. Or I hook a fish. Man, it drives me crazy. But that's just one example. I have hundreds and hundreds of things over the years that I've evaluated, and I can't do it. I got fired from Humminbird. When Tailflex bought Humminbird from Texonic Industries, there was a guy from Tailflex, and he wanted to bring back the flasher. And he wanted a model endorsed by Jimmy Houston and one by me. So they came out with the Hank Parker flasher. They sent me a prototype, and I had problems with it. It wasn't performing up to expectations. And it was $179. I said, man, I can't do it. I cannot do it. Send me a working prototype. And they said, no, we're going to get these things done and bring them to market, and you're going to sign your name to them, and we're going to be done with it because we pay you.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you pay me. I am not putting my name. They said, well, let me tell you something. You'll put your name on it or you're fired. I said, well, I don't want to be fired, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I ain't going to put my name on it.
You know what that's called? It's called morals.
Well, they fired me. They fired me. I lost my job. I went to work for Garmin for 4 years. The only time I hadn't been with Humminbird. As soon as Johnson Fishing bought Humminbird back, I came to a crossroads with Garmin, and I went back to Humminbird, been with Humminbird for 50 years minus 4 years, so I've been with them for 46 years.
Yep.
But there was a period of time when Tailflex owned Humminbird that I got fired because I would not endorse a product that I didn't believe in. My dad, we used to go to a restaurant. And my dad, some of it was self-inflicted, some of it was circumstances. But my dad would go to a restaurant, and I'd see him, he'd count his money. He knew how much money he had in his wallet.
Yeah.
And when we would order, he'd figure up, he'd sit there and watch. He knew he didn't have the money to buy himself something. So he said, I'm just not hungry, I'll have a glass of water.
Aww.
That's burning my mind forever. I'll never forget that as long as I live. I'm selling products to somebody like my dad.
Yeah, that just made my stomach drop a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you.
I tell my kids, You cannot know the value of a dollar like I know it because you've never been subjected to that.
Right.
I know what that's like. I watched it. I lived in it. And so I'm not going to sell something to somebody to make a dollar if I don't believe in the product. Now, do I make mistakes? Yeah. Have I overstated? Yes, I have. We live in a world today that everybody sensationalizes things over the top. So to get somebody's attention, you too must sensationalize it to the max. I try not to do that.
Yeah.
I am excited. I fished for the first time this week with Mega Live 2. I'm blown away. I'm so excited. I'm so pumped up. Man, it was so awesome compared to the Mega Live that I've been using. It just blew me away. I'm over the top excited. So I got to be real careful to tone it down. Don't overstate what it does. But it did everything I wanted it to do, and it helped me immensely over what I've been doing.
Yeah, I will say, I heard him talk about it. You went out on the water about 2 days ago, and looking over the footage of him fishing with it, it is so much clearer than the old one. I'll say that too, because even before I was like, well, no wonder why you said forward-facing sonar is hard. You can't see the darn screen. It's so grainy.
Well, I couldn't see my bait past with the Mega Live. I could not see my bait past about 30 feet. With Mega Live 2, I saw my bait clear at 80 feet.
Yeah.
Clear. I could see it hit the water. I could see it go down. I could see it bounce across the top of the trees in 50 and 60 foot of water, and I could watch fish come up and bite it. That is amazing to me. Now, a lot of people hate that, and that's okay. I don't want to get on the controversial side. I'm just saying from a engineering technology standpoint, it's the difference between day and night. So for me as an individual, I have to be real careful not to get so excited about it that I overstate, and you have all these expectations based on my excitement that when you buy it, you're not satisfied. It didn't live up to my hype.
Right, too much embellishment.
Yeah. So you got to be careful with that, and I'm guilty of that. I have done that in the past. I will admit that. So I have to watch that. But as we talked through this morning in this meeting about today's fishermen versus yesterday's fishermen, with the two tournament circuits, with so many people winning, with the forward-facing sonar craze that is dominating the fishing world, the classroom's upset, man. There's people scattered everywhere, people going in all directions, and none of these marketing directors can forecast accurately on bait sales because the trend is a minnow and a jig head right now. The trend's not crankbaits, not buzz baits, not spinner baits, not top water bait, not traditional type lures. It is minnows and jig heads, and you can't figure out where it's going.
Listen, trends are trends for a reason, and they're not labeled as timeless. And this is true for, I feel like, every aspect of things that are trendy. All right, take the mullet, for instance. It was a huge thing back in the
Cyrus.
Billy Ray Cyrus,
Well,
80s, 90s, and then went out of style. The mullet was ugly, and now it's coming back.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between following trends and patterns. I mean, same thing, house decor, things come in and out of style. Then guess what? 2 years down the road, man, this doesn't look as good as I thought it would have. Like, it didn't look as good as it did 2 years ago, out with the old and with the new, But when you find things that are timeless, tried and true, those are the things that are going to last you for forever. Like, that's what I feel like that kind of comes full circle to what we've talked about in previous podcasts. Like, it's good to know your basics and your classic things as to what works, to know that it's always tried and true.
Well, if the mullet comes back, I sure hope the flat top don't come back with that.
It's already back.
Oh, no.
It's already back.
Well, I don't have enough Rogaine to grow a mullet, and with my receding hairline, if the flat top came back, I'm going to be in big trouble.
It's okay. You can get some extensions. We'll get you a toupee.
Oh, I need a toupee. That's exactly what I need. But to go back and circle the wagons, here's what has taken place in the last 5 years in my world. The TV market as a whole is shrinking. The TV viewer now, if they do watch linear television, they tape it and they
Streaming.
remove the commercials.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about, like streaming, like going to streaming services.
Well, no,
and
just a regular linear television show on the Pursuit channel.
Okay.
People will record it,
okay.
and then they fast forward through the 30-second commercials. So
Yep.
why
Me
is
too.
a Luge? Why is an Arc? Why is a Ranger? Why is a Mercury going to buy a 30-second pre-produced ad?
if people are skipping it.
Yeah.
Because people don't have the attention span.
Well, but
We're spoiled.
I can't blame them. I do it myself.
I do it too. I was about to say, as soon as
We're
that
all
skip
in-
ad button comes up,
Yeah.
I'm hitting it.
Yeah, when I watch the Hallmark Call of the Heart, I always skip through the commercials. But I like commercials. You know, when I'm watching the hunting shows and the fishing shows, I like seeing some of the commercials. But nevertheless, that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So now, in order to sell and get a sponsor for television, you've got to include them contently. Well, because of social media and because of the new millennial attitude, you
more
can't
Gen Z.
promote. People think,
Yeah.
well, he ain't nothing but trying to sell me. I'm not watching this.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a delicate balance. It's a changing world.
Yep.
And people are not very tolerant.
Nope.
They won't cut you any slack.
Nope. And it fires me up. It boils my blood more than anything else. I see, man, Hank, I'm so disappointed in you. You're just nothing but a sellout. I'm like, who are you? You look at this man's profile. He's about 400 pounds and he's got his profile picture set as the same as his cover photo. I'm like, dude, you're about 20 years of being in the grave. Let me just say,
let's
you
not
ain't
be
got
ugly.
no.
Let's cut them a little slack. But we do
Sorry,
get
we'll beep
that.
it out.
We do get that. I love this. My little granddaughter, B, has a little sister named Riley. So they're both my granddaughters. But Riley had a birthday and she got a lot of presents. And B wanted to play with some of the presents. And so Riley was hoarding them all up. And B was getting angry with Riley. And she started to revolt a little bit with Riley. And her mom said, B, cut her some slack. Show her some grace. I don't even know what that is.
What is great?
What is grace? I don't
It's
know what
hard. It's really hard, especially when you know the truth and you see the behind the scenes, when you see people comment, stuff like that. I'm like, do you even think before you're texting? Do you even, like, it's like people just do like a word vomit online and then they just think they can just hit post without zero consequences. I think that's really what it is.
Well,
they hide behind their keyboard.
Let me tell you, I don't want to be ugly to anybody. I think
do.
there are people out there that they feel that their calling in this world is to point out other people's flaws.
Yep.
And so immediately, when they hear something or see something, they're looking for the flaw. They're looking for some place that they can interrupt and say, that's not right.
Yep.
Or you're crazy. Or I disagree with you. I think you're selling out. I think you're an ugly person. I think you're mean. I think you pinch little children or whatever. They got negative comments on everything.
Oh, everything. And I think part of that comes from either wanting to be right, needing the validation, or somebody who's just overly jealous of somebody else's success.
Well, I go back to Aunt Betty and Aunt Kate. We had two old women in our church when I was a kid.
Lord.
And Aunt Kate, you could not say anything positive. Aunt Kate, that's a beautiful dress you have on. Well, the darn thing don't fit. Well, Aunt Kate, it's a beautiful day outside. Yeah, but it'll probably rain after a while. It didn't matter. You could not say anything positive. There was always a negative.
Pessimistic.
All right, and her cohort would say, you'd say, Aunt Nettie, it's a beautiful day. Oh, it sure is, honey. It is delightful. I am so happy to be out today. It is beautiful. Well, Aunt Nettie, you never have anything bad to say about anybody. So how about the devil? Well, he's a hard worker. So you got two attitudes there. One, never find fault. The other, man, you can't do anything right.
Hey, I'm about to take out to church real quick. It says in the Bible, it says pull the log out of your eye before you try pulling the splinter out of somebody else's.
Ooh, get on with it,
No, the
sister. That'll
truth.
preach. If you're gonna get the speck out of your brother's eye, first remove the log or the plank from your own eye.
Amen.
I get that. We find a lot of fault with people, and you and I are doing that here because you get so much negative mail that people will write you something they don't like 10 times quicker than if they like it. If you post something somebody likes, they're just going to look at it, smile, and enjoy it, and go on. But if they don't like it, they're going to blast you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if I was any of the 12 disciples, I think I'd be Peter for sure, ready to square up with anybody, ready to jump on the defense.
Well, we go right back. Now, here's where we are. We're talking about, from a manufacturer standpoint, what has changed in the market. How do you promote? How do you market? How do you advertise? The TV thing is changing. Part of that is my responsibility is to be honest. I am my own brand, so therefore I can't just turn into a billboard to read a script that any manufacturer would like for me to say about the product. I can't do that.
I've never seen you read a script.
Yeah, I don't read well, so I don't read scripts, so I might mispronounce it because I didn't get the spelling right. But nevertheless, that's a whole different story. Nevertheless, you can't please everybody, and you can't oversell. So here's what I'm saying: with this changing of the environment, with going to what they call influencers instead of television hosts, somewhere along the line, there's got to be a happy medium. There's got to be some place that, hey, I as a television host can contently use your product, and when I come across something, for example, Luz. Luz has got a new reel that you don't get a backlash. It's amazing. And I don't really know.
I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, I got a picture of it on my phone.
Okay.
I don't really know exactly. It's a custom probe, but it's a
CPB 15HG3.
Yeah, but it's a custom pro, and this thing is the first reel that magnets have really worked for me. You know, we've had magnetic reels where there's magnets on one spool and magnets on the other, and the magnetic field slows the spool down to help you from getting a backlash. To me, that I've never seen very much benefit from that. I've seen a little bit. I have seen a little bit. So I'm going to say there is some difference there on a magnetic reel versus not. But this particular reel, it has a cup that is on the spool. And when you cast it, the centrifugal force of the cast makes that cup closer to the magnets, which increases the magnetic field. The closer you get, the more those magnets draw each other and slow that spool. So right in the middle of that cast, when you get the most resistance and you should start getting that overrun, that's when the magnetic field is the greatest.
Wow.
So it suppresses that spool and slows it down. And so you don't get an overrun. It's an amazing reel. It is amazing.
That's so cool.
Reel.
I'm like, who came up with this? That's so
it's
neat.
an engineering genius who came up with it.
Yeah.
But here's the point. If I sat down and tell you that, it may have some impact on you. But if you watch me in a gale force wind out there throwing a flat-sided crankbait, and you say, there is no way I could do that. There is no possible way I could throw that crankbait that far in that kind of wind. I'd have the biggest bird nest in the world. So when you're watching me do that, and then I stop and explain that reel to you,
how it works.
Yeah, then you get it, you put the two together, and then that influences you to go out and buy that reel.
See, that to me is so much more powerful. Like, that to me would make me want to buy something knowing how it works versus this is just what I use every day, you should go buy it. You know, it's like, okay, tell me why it works. That's the same thing, okay, for us women, skincare. It's like, I'm not just going to go buy a face cream because you said to go buy it. If you're not telling me the ingredients and how it works in your skin, how it fixes my problem, I'm not going to buy it, you know, waste of money.
I've learned on social media, that if I say, you need this Yeti,
koozie.
What do you call this, a cooler?
Yeah, they call them their koozie tumblers.
Koozie, all right. It's incredible for keeping your drink cool. So if I say, hey, go buy this cooler, this
Koozie. Yep. There you
koozie. All right, go buy this Yeti koozie. They're awesome. Man, it keeps your drink cold. My social media follower is cut me off.
Oh yeah, instant unfollow. I'm guilty of that. If I see an influencer, you need to buy this right now, unfollow.
Yeah.
Get off my
I'm
feed.
done. But if I say,
I'm
hey,
done.
let me tell you something. I am a stickler on hot soft drinks. This is a Diet Mountain Dew. Diet Mountain Dews are not good at all when they're hot.
No.
But I love them when they're cold. So,
Crack you open a cold one.
Yeah. So I'm a cold Diet Mountain Dew. Let's not get on those
I know, I was waiting for you to catch
alcoholic
it.
beverages. But I don't drink alcohol, don't want alcohol. I don't like alcohol. But if you do, I'm not criticizing you. Please don't email me. I didn't mean any harm.
Personal preference. There we go.
Yeah. I feel like I can be a better witness for Jesus by not drinking than I do if I am
fair
drinking.
enough.
But that's my personal convictions, and I'm not trying to push that on you. So, okay. So if I tell my followers on Facebook,
Right.
hey, you need to try this Yeti koozie,
Yes.
versus, hey man, let me tell you something, I can't stand to drink a hot Diet Mountain Dew. So you got to do something to cool it off. You got to do something to keep it cool, or either got to drink it fast. Well, I don't want to drink it fast, so I've come up with a way to keep it cool. And out of all the koozies I've tried, this Yeti seems to be the best one I've tried. So
Yeah.
if you're out and about, you might want to try to grab one of these koozies, because it really will help you keep your Diet Mountain Dew colder for a much longer period of time. Then
Yeah.
they'll listen.
Yeah,
But if I
true.
start off telling them about the Yeti, they've already cut me off.
Right. No, you're 100% right. But real talk though, on Yeti, not trying to sell anybody anything, but Yeti has been the best water bottle that I have ever used, especially with trends, for instance, Stanley Cups.
No, you're trying to sell now. We're not going to do that.
Stanley Cups became a thing though, but now they're out, and now people are starting to look. People were considering Yeti to be a smaller brand than Stanley, which was crazy to me, because I'm like, I feel like Yeti has been more relevant in general. But anyways, that just goes to prove the
Well, I
whole trend.
think they had an upper
thing.
hand on everybody. Yeti, they started every race in the world from grade school on up. Yeti, set, go.
Yeah, oh God. I was waiting for it. I was like, what are you talking about? It took me a second.
Yeti, set, go, man.
Yeti,
Come on,
set,
we're going to
go.
race.
Yep.
All right, so now we go back. Everything has changed. Traditional television is out. I'm losing my job to an influencer. A lot of them have mohawk hairdos that are
Mullets.
orange or green.
Yep.
They turn a double backflip when they catch a fish.
They sure
set
do.
off fireworks.
Yep.
They sensationalize over the top the
Of course they
experience.
do.
And it's not real.
No.
It's not real. But it's intriguing and it's exciting.
It's entertaining.
It's entertaining.
Yep.
I like that. I don't know why I didn't come up with that. It's entertaining.
That's why I'm here.
Therefore, people, that's why people view it.
Yeah.
And so you can't blame a director of marketing that is looking down and seeing this guy that calls himself an influencer, and he's willing to work with you and endorse your product for pennies on the dollar of what I'm willing to do, because I've got airtime, I've got a production crew, I've got a producer, I've got travel expenses,
Yep.
I got all this expense. So in order to make a profit, you got to figure every dime you spend, and then you add a little to it to make a living.
Yeah.
So by the time you get through with all of that, it's a big number. But this guy, he didn't do anything. He just goes out on the water, takes a cell phone and a buddy, and he can sign up, and he's got 2 million followers.
Right.
So all of a sudden they say, Hank Parker, I can hire a guy that's got 2 million followers for 1/100th of what I'm paying you. You're fired.
Yeah.
So I'm out the door. So this guy that is so hot, that has got all these followers, after about 3 years, he's like a fallen star.
Yep.
He sizzled out. But now there's a new guy that is paying. So it's kind of like flavor of the day.
Oh, absolutely. It
Yeah.
is the next best thing.
Yeah, and you pick that guy until he burns out, or she burns out, and then you pick the next girl or the next guy, and they're your influencer, and all of a sudden you find yourself going in all different directions, but we've lost the one thing that matters: credibility.
Right.
Credibility.
Absolutely.
All of these people that are funding themselves, and let me back up and apologize for saying that. Not all of these people. There's some awesome people out there.
Yep.
And I'm not saying any of the influencers are bad. They're just taking advantage of opportunity, but they're jeopardizing the credibility. If you get a guy out there that's 28 years old, for example, and the vast majority of these influencers are 28 and under.
Yep. 20s.
Yeah, the vast majority is 28 years or younger. Well, they don't have a lot of experience, and if they are great fishermen, they're probably not very versatile. They're probably kind of one track. So how much knowledge can they lend to you when you're trying to make a decision as a consumer
Right.
on buying a rod and reel?
Absolutely. That's true in every aspect. I feel like even every other one's like, I wouldn't be qualified to sell somebody a bait or anything like that. I've never fished a tournament in my life. I mean, my biggest experience fishing is going on the boat with you. I couldn't be able to sell you a bait.
That's very positive. You needed to say that more favorably.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't sell you a bait, but I am a licensed esthetician. So I could, in my experience, sell you skincare product because I am certified to deal with the skin. So it's looking at who your influencer is and knowing, do they have the certifications to even sell me something? Is this person a health nut? Like, okay, you look at somebody who is like a home life influencer trying to sell you on like a fitness product, but yet they're not some bodybuilder. You know, who are you likely to believe? The person who posts gym content that is trying to sell you like a muscle supplement, or the stay-at-home mom that's got 2 kids and looks like she don't really leave her house except to go to Target? Just being honest.
Well, I think that it's important to stay in your lane. You know, I've signed on with Liqua Moly, and Liqua Moly makes a lot of great products. And I know something about Moly because I was in the racing business, and I know that it penetrates the cylinder walls and the cylinders themselves, and you can literally run so much less friction with that product. But I will not make that claim. Yeah. I will not. I am not certified, nor am I qualified to tell you all the specs of a motor oil. I'm not qualified. That's not my profession. That's not my experience. I am qualified to tell you about a rod and reel. I am qualified to tell you about a line or a lure. That's all I've ever done. So I'm tickled to death to be with Liqua Moly. But when I tell you something about Liqua Moly, it didn't come from me. It came from their research and development.
Yes.
Folks, it's not something. Now, I can tell you my personal testimony on the experience that I've had with it, but I can't give you the formulation, why it works, or how it's made. I don't know that.
Unless they tell you, right?
Yeah, but when I tell you that, I'm not telling you what I've learned on my own. When I talk to you about a fishing rod or fishing line or fishing lure, I've learned this. I've tweaked a lot of them. I've designed a lot of lures. I've designed had a lot of input on reels, and rods. That's my lane. I'm staying in my lane when I talk about fishing products, because that's what I do. And I want to figure out a way with this changing market, with influencers, with television, with streaming, with podcasts, with YouTube shows, with TikTok, with Facebook. I want to learn how to have a media presence that I can reach people with integrity, with honesty, with respect about a fishing product, and be able to influence you to help me be of value to the companies that sponsor me. I mean, let's be honest. A sponsorship comes when you're in a position that you've got influence on the consuming public, that you can generate sales for that company if you couldn't, they couldn't pay you. It wouldn't make
Right.
sense.
Right.
So we understand that from the beginning. So don't be so critical when you say, well, all he's trying to do is sell me something. Here's what you got to believe. And this is what I've got to, it's my fault if I fall short of this, but I've got to convince you that I'm not going to sell you something that I don't believe in. I'm not
Right.
going to do it. And so that's where my credibility comes in. I'm not going to represent a company that doesn't build a quality product.
Right.
I'm not going to do it. And I hate to, but I remember the Hydrowave when it first came out. They sent one to me and one to Bill Dance, and they had money and they were ready to sponsor.
Yeah.
I could not make it work for me. Now, other people did, but I had to be honest, so I passed that money. Last year, David Bashir, my friend from Fish Formula, I love Fish Formula, I used it for years. David Bashir comes out with Bait Pop. He said, Hank, I want you to be a part of our program. We got Scott Martin, we got Jacob Wheeler, we got Bill Dance, we need you. I want you to try this Bait Pop. I said, David, man, I love you. And Jacob Wheeler is one of the best that's ever been. Scott Martin's awesome. Bill Dance is my hero. I can't make it work for me. I cannot make it work. Man, I went out. Part of it may have been my setup, but I never saw a difference. So they sent me some new Bait Pop about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. And sure enough, I see a difference.
You like it?
I like
Yeah.
it. It works. It works. So
Yeah.
I told them, I said, they said, Hank, we don't have the money now to pay you. We can't hire you, but we'll give you all the Bait Pop you want, but that's all we can do. Okay, well, I can't make a living doing that, but I said, hey, I'm going to be honest with you. Use my name, do whatever you want to, and when I use it, I'm going to tell people it works.
Yeah.
Not because I'm being paid. They're not going to pay me a dime. I'm using it because it works.
I mean, the way that I view you is that you're more of an educational page. Now, I run all of his social media. I do all of his posting, all of his captions, all that other stuff. The way that I view your content is that you're educating people on these products so that they can make a decision to buy or not to buy. We would never look at you and say, you need to buy this product. This is how this product works. I like it because of X, Y, Z. You do with that knowledge whatever you want to do with it. But the way that I've viewed your page and the way that you've explained it to me is that you like to educate the people more on how to fish more effectively. These are the tools that you have used and that works for you.
Well, I did that post with that shallow spool XP lose that Andy Montgomery skips up under boat docks. Andy Morgan does as well. They both work for Luz, and they're both my friends. And I say Andy Montgomery, I say Andy Morgan. They're both awesome guys, and they're both unbelievable skippers. But I fish with Andy Montgomery, and I couldn't believe that shallow spool reel made all that much difference, but it did. So I talked about it, and now I'm able to skip, and I've never been able to skip before. Then a couple of weeks later, the Custom Pro anti-backlash reel comes out. And so I had a guy text me and said, hey, I don't skip that much. Matter of fact, I mostly fish when I'm sitting down. But I'm intrigued by skipping a boat dock, but I got a problem with casting in the wind. I've never been a great caster with a bait caster reel to begin with, but when the wind's blowing, I really have problems. So I'm only going to buy one reel. Which reel would you choose? Absolutely. You do not need that skipping reel if you're going to sit down and fish and take it easy. I mean, that is for getting after it.
Yeah.
So you don't need that reel. But now casting into the wind and you're having problems, you need that Custom Pro.
One with the magnets.
Yeah, the one with the magnets. So you get questions and you try to answer them honestly. That's probably not an answer that Luz would like. Luz would say, hey, you need them both. You know?
Oh, but of course. But to be fair, Luz is marketing to every condition. Like you said, they have different reels for different conditions, different types of fishing. So I feel like that's only right to suggest that. I feel like that would be wrong to tell you to say, well, you need both of them, because I feel like that's just overdoing it. And I feel like as a company, that's a very poor decision to make, or you're going to have a lot of backlash on that.
Well, do you think that maybe it's wrong for me to tell people to throw my Hank Parker Classic spinnerbait on 2-pound test line and throw it up in the brush pile?
I don't know.
When I was a kid, Ray Scott had he had a Bluebird bus, and he would load up all these pros, and they would go city to city doing seminars. And I went to the Charlotte Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina, and saw Tom Mann. And Tom Mann was my hero then. And I was fishing with a Little George. He had just come out with a Little George, and that was a fish catcher bait, little tail spinner bait, and it was awesome. But golly bum, that thing would get hung up. They cost 75 cents a piece. And so I finally got up enough nerve when they had question and answers after Tom did his seminar, and he recognized me as a kid in the audience, had no clue who I was, and which I was nobody. But he said, "Yes, sir, young man." I said, "Mr. Tom, I love your Little George." He said, "Well, thank you." I said, "But I do have a problem with it hanging up." He said, "Yeah, that happens." I said, "Well, is there a trick when you hang up a Little George to get it loose?" He said, "Young man, that is a great question, and yes, there is. Let me tell you exactly what you do. You take your rod, you wind your line tight, you point straight at the Little George, get it tight, pull steady, and say, 'By George,' and tie on another one."
Well, there you go. I mean, at least he was honest about it, you know. Hey.
Tie you on another, get out another 75 cents. I could use your money.
With you on the topic of questions, I wanted to kind of open the floor a little bit to the audience that I really want him to start doing like a little playlist series and put it on YouTube, put it on our social medias of how-to tips and tricks, you know, how to tie a Carolina rig and all that type of stuff. So if you have any questions of stuff you want to see, please let us know. You can let us know on any of our social pages. You can comment anywhere. Most of the time I'll see them, and we'll write them down and we'll add it to like a little playlist of videos. I think that'll be really cool. The whole purpose of what we're doing, I want to talk about the history. I want to talk about the good times, and I want to talk about what a great sport, what a great heritage we have from Ray Scott to Forrest Wood to John Powell to Roland and all the Bobby Murrays and Blake Honeycutt and my heroes that had so much influence and were mentors to me. I want to talk about the good stuff. I felt like for a little while, and we may still be there a little bit, there's too much controversy. And I understand it. I get it. There's a lot on the line when a guy is borrowing money and trying to be a professional bass fisherman, can't get enough sponsors to get a paycheck, struggling. I understand the pressure is just like being in a vice, and I get it. And people tend to, especially when they're really sinking and they realize, man, I ain't gonna make it. They get bitter sometimes, and now that everybody's got a cell phone, they air that out. So this guy will get in a battle against this guy, and this guy will chime in, and pretty soon you got a big, ugly argument going concerning fishing. Yeah. I hate all that, man. Fishing is awesome. It's something that we need to enjoy and take part in and not be so controversial. So I wanted to start my podcast and talk about this is how it started. These are the players. What a great character this was. And one day I want to sit down and I want to go over individuals. And it doesn't say anybody that has listened to my podcast or watched my show, they know my ultimate hero in fishing is Forrest Wood. Yep. Forrest Wood did more for me than anybody else, but not what he did for me as much as what he did for everybody. What he did for this sport, his character, what a delightful human being was Forrest Wood. Right. I want to go down and I want to take Tom Mann and I want to talk all about Tom Mann, talk about his history, where he got started. He was a wildlife officer. He and Miss Mann started pouring jelly worms in their kitchen, and pretty soon Tom Mann's a household name, one of the greatest fishermen. Forrest Wood got the idea. He was guiding on the White River, guiding for trout on the White River, and they had these specialized river boats, so he had one of these river boats, and then bass fishing got hot, and he thought, boy, I could make a specialized boat for bass fishing. And that's where Ranger got started in 1967 or so. So I'd like to go down and talk about the history, but these guys are colorful people. There are people that had integrity and contributed so much to building this incredible sport that we're all enjoying. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to taint it. I don't want to make it a controversial
sport. I want it to stay clean and wholesome. I talked about this on the podcast before. When I competed, I didn't compete against Larry Nixon or Ricky Clunn or Denny Breyer or any of the great fishermen. I competed against the fish, and if I caught the most fish, I won. If they caught the most fish, they won. There was no grudge. There was no hard feelings. Man, it was like a family reunion when we go meet back up at the next tournament.
Yep.
That's what the sport, man, we fed off of that. We built this thing. I had a part, I got a book over there that Ray Scott, the bass boss, and in the front cover he says, "Hey Hank, thanks for your contribution. Man, we did it." Mm-hmm. So Ray credited me with contributing to build the sport. Well,
wow.
But I ain't worried about me. I'm worried about all these other guys that did so much to help build this sport.
Right.
It's an awesome sport.
I'm sure I could understand how that could be very heartbreaking for you, especially since you've been there from the beginning. People won't understand, especially a lot of the younger generation. All they see is the now and the controversy, and people, sometimes they just like to jump in it just to cause drama. Some people just live for the drama.
Well, I may have been guilty of that too when I was 25 years old and out there and,
it's an age
and
thing.
Freezing to death and burning up and going through all the stuff. Everybody looks at the Bassmaster Classic and they see all the pageantry, but there's a lot of tournaments out there. There's no glamour at all. There's no glory. It is a survival contest, and you get beat up. You get beat up and you get a lot of fatigue. You get up before 5 o'clock every morning. You go to bed at midnight. You're not getting any sleep, and you're stressing. And had I had a cell phone,
oh man,
there is no telling. I could have been the most negative of all. So I want to show grace to the younger people that are. But it's not only in fishing. I've learned that. I was telling Martha, my wife, your grandmother. I was telling her about all the controversy that's created through this cell phone in our sport, and she said, "Baby doll, you don't follow a lot on Facebook. You don't look at a lot of social posts, but baby, I'm telling you, there's friends in school that will have a falling out. Instead of settling it between themselves, they'll go home and they'll post something
on Facebook.
And then this friend of this friend will take sides, and pretty soon you got 45 friends in there battling it out.
Picking sides, absolutely, causing more strife. You know what I like to say? I like to say, go touch some grass and get out. Like, turn the phone off, take a deep breath, stop chronically being online. That's probably what's wrong with half these people, is that they've got that phone screen in their face 24/7.
I'm saying I understand it.
Yeah.
And it's not just our sport. So I was acting as if I needed to come to the rescue of our sport, only to realize that it's not just our sport. It's every aspect of life.
It's our culture.
It is where
our
we
culture.
are today with the technology and people having less respect today than they've probably had in the past, and they're quick to write something and then hit send.
Well, we've lost respect for anybody, care for anybody. People just say whatever. I think it's a sense of entitlement, and you know they've never probably faced any consequences from what they've said online. So they think just because they say it online, it's not going to hurt them or in any other way, but they don't understand how that could affect somebody else reading that comment or like commenting underneath somebody else's post. And it's really sad if you think about it, because I'm like, there's no reason for that other than you're just being malicious just to be malicious or just to like try to get your point across to be right. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It really does not matter.
Well, so my whole wrap up on this is it is not our sport.
Yep.
It is the nature of everything. So getting back to our sport, here's what's going on. There's a change in the guard. Mm-hmm. It's an unpredictable moving target, where it's going to go, who's going to end up helping promote, whether you like television or not. Mm-hmm. There's been so much information. Bill Dance likes to say he taught America to fish, and I would not disagree with that. I've gotten so many tips from Bill over the years. He's very instructional. We need that. Our sport has grown because Bill Dance has offered fishing tips to all America.
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
Yeah.
And I tried to pick up on that, and my deal was family values. I think families need to go fishing, you know. I was asked this morning, what's the first reel you ever owned? It was a Zebco. How many kids started with Zebco? And to be honest with you, I know I worked for Lou's.
I did.
But I want my grandkids to start out with a Zebco.
I sure did. Barbie edition.
Oh, yeah, come on. But I think that's cool. I think that's awesome. And I think every little 5-year-old kid needs a Zebco rod and reel combination. And
Absolutely.
I think they need to go catch a fish. And I don't care if it's not but that long. That's what I wanted to instill. That's the magic of fishing. I made a living as a tournament fisherman.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved to compete. But that's not what fishing is all about. That's just a small segment at the tip of the iceberg. All that broad foundation is about going out, having fun, taking your kids, taking your family, and going out on the water and enjoying it, or sitting on the pond bank or the river bank or the creek bank, whatever water's available to you. Take your family and go fishing. So I tried to instill the values of fishing. So you got Bill out there teaching all these techniques. I tried to bring in more family value. Jimmy Houston, somewhere in the middle of the road with that. Roland's a very technical guy. Roland wants to catch big giant fish, and he'd travel to destinations. Hey, I'm getting ready to go down and do a show with Shaw Grigsby. Everybody asks, well, where is Orlando Wilson today? What's Shaw doing today? Shaw's fishing tournaments. So, but he's not in the television business. So a lot of people don't know. Hey, I'm excited about going down and fishing with Shaw. He's an awesome guy. And I want to find out what life is like after 20 years of television. Man, he had a television show for 20 years.
Yeah.
And now he's not doing that. Well, what's life like?
Well, I guess they're going to find out. They tune in to Hank Parker.
There you go. Hank Parker's Outdoor Magazine on the Pursuit channel.
Pursuit Up. Yep. And on the Pursuit Up streaming app.
Yeah, Pursuit Up. Come on. But my point is, here we are. We're in a marketplace that's unpredictable. Most fishing companies have had 2 major downturn years. Now, they had 2 glory years during COVID. And now post-COVID, it's been a declining market at a rapid rate. So now COVID's over, the down market, we're in the middle of that. What do we do to go forward? Sitting there talking to one of the sharpest presidents of a major fishing tackle company, we're sitting there kicking tires, going back and forth. What do we do to fix this? What's next? How do we market? How are we going to stay afloat? How are we going to keep things going? And honestly, there's no cut and dry solid answer. That's scary, really.
That is scary.
And this particular president, he's been in the business forever. And he said, never have we ever been in this situation. And it's not only me. I talked to the president of this company. I talked to the president of this company. I talked to the president. And we're all in that same boat. We're all trying to figure out where this thing is going to end up and what direction do we need to take to be on the top.
Well, we're headed into a new era of marketing. In my opinion, just the way that people's minds have changed. Like, there's so much science that goes into marketing. I've learned a lot. I've been doing marketing for a little over a year now, which is not very long in like the grand scheme of things, but I have learned so much about how people perceive things. And if you start to pay attention, y'all will pick up on it too. Well, just like with people's attention spans and everything else, you have to take all of that into account when you're trying to build any sort of social media presence in general. You've got literally half a second to catch people's attentions nowadays, whereas 5 years ago, you had 5 minutes, okay? Another 5 years ago, it was 10 minutes.
Come on with that 10 minutes.
You know, that 10 minutes. He likes to talk.
What time it is, I'm going to tell you how to build a watch.
Yeah, there you go.
So you got a big challenge in
True.
me because I can't tell any story fast. I got to go back and I got to establish the baseline for what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't just throw it off the cuff and say, well, you need to do this. this is what I have learned and this is what I've found
Yep.
and I tried this. So I've come to the conclusion based on all of that this is the way we ought to go.
Right.
Well, everybody out there is asleep or already changed channel.
Already changed, yeah. I mean, I'll stop you mid-video and say, we got to do it again. You got to keep it at, like at 90 seconds. 90 seconds, Parker, not 5.
Yeah, I want everybody to understand the whole story. I don't want you just to get the highlight, but people are not very patient. They got a lot of stuff to do, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to show grace.
They got to keep scrolling.
Yeah.
That's what they got. That's what they got to do.
Oh, my goodness.
They need to go see what Bill Dance is doing 2 pages down.
Well, we've got a wonderful sport. We've got it's in a lot of good hands. I love where high school fishing's going. We've got a lot involved there with Huckleberry Apparel.
Yes.
I think we're going to be okay. I wish we had a clearer direction, but here is what I've concluded. It is my job to tell people what I know about fishing, and if it's something that applies to them, they can take advantage of it. If it doesn't, if you don't like hamburgers, and that's what I'm serving.
You ain't got to eat it.
Yeah, you don't have to. And
Go
don't
get
be
you
offended that I like a hamburger.
Absolutely.
Just pass on it.
Just go get you a hot dog from down the street. Ain't that big of a deal.
And that's fine. So my job is to keep doing what I've always done. I just have to find a different delivery mechanism, and I have to condense it. I can't talk as long.
Right.
So that's where we're headed, and that's my job. I don't know where the industry's headed. I sat there this morning, I listened to a very, 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 very sharp marketing director, 2 of them actually. I listened to the CEO and the president of the company, and I listened a lot. And there is a lot of confusion on the part of how to market, how to continue to be able to reach the consumer when you come up with an incredible product. Mm-hmm. How are you going to get that message across and them perceive it believable?
Yeah.
Because half the people out there now think, well, it's just a bunch of bull. Everything's been over sensationalized.
Yes.
So it's been embellished to the point that they don't believe anything.
Yeah, I like to say that people have trust issues. I think old and previous marketing, I'd say especially like mid-2000s, has caused a lot of people to have trust issues with products, because then they go and order something and then it's like I said before, it's a piece of crap, comes in the mail and don't work. So then they're like, well, you know what, the heck with all these people that are just trying to sell us stuff. You know, and so it does become harder to sell people on. People want genuine.
I don't use a lot. I like to say a piece of junk.
No, I give it to you how it is.
Just a piece of junk.
Hey, it is how it is.
Yeah. We've all fallen into the trap, and we've all had maybe expected too much out of a product and maybe overstated at times. But let's just all take a deep breath. Let's quit texting negative. Let's go fishing.
Touch some
Let's
grass.
learn as much as we can. Hey, I'm ate up with learning. I want to learn. All this forward-facing sonar stuff, I want information, man. I want to be better. So it's a lot different today for me where I am. I'm seeking information. More than I'm teaching in a lot of aspects. So I want to learn it where I can teach it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, it's such a complicated method of fishing. You got to get pretty good at it before you can understand what somebody that's really good at it is trying to tell you. Mm-hmm. All about the drift, all about the weight of the head, all about the hover aspect, all about the way you shake the minnow, the way you get it to move real fast and drop it. A smallmouth will hit a bait dropping. A spotted bass will hit a bait dropping. A largemouth won't. I've already learned that.
Well, now I have too.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I think, well, dang, if you run that thing up there and he's chasing it, he don't get it, stop it. If it falls, if it's a largemouth, he just sits there. If it's a spotted bass, he'll go get it sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Smallmouth will go get it a lot. Difference in the way they react. Well, you got to learn all that. I want to be able to tell you that. I want to be able to say, well, let me tell you what I've learned, and this is what I'm basing it on. And I want to be able to give information to lend credibility to the story. This is what I'm basing it on. I was at such and such lake, and I had 15 follow-ups, and every time I drop it, I caught nothing.
Yeah.
I had to speed it up to catch those largemouth. But then the other day, I went down to Logan Martin, and I got into big spots, and I found that when I drop it, they liked it better. So here's what I've concluded based on my data. The largemouth don't like it dropping. The spotted bass do.
Yep.
So when you're fishing for spotted bass, you can run that thing up there, and if they don't bite it, you can drop it, and they'll bite it. But if it's a largemouth, you got to speed it up. You can't drop it.
Speed it up. See,
That's information
that's
that's really
cool.
important for somebody that's out there trying to catch a fish with forward-facing sonar.
That's very important. I think even if you're just doing it for fun and you just want to catch fish, that's important. If you're in a tournament, I'd say it's definitely important so you can know how to catch them quickly, effectively, and get the big ones. You know?
But let me tell you this: whether you're fishing a tournament or not. Now, I like to fish and I have fun fishing. I have learned that over the years, it's more fun to catch them than it is not to.
Yeah, I would say so too.
So I want to catch them just like I was in the Bassmaster Classic every time I go.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I just want to have fun. And the more I catch, seems like the more fun I have. So I really like that. Burn them up.
There you go.
Well, we're running out of time. It's been a crazy show, and it's been a little bit different than well, they're all different. What can I say? I've had fun. I think we need to work hard on cutting people slack. I think we need to not bash our sport. I think we need to take our neighbors and our friends and little boys and girls fishing. I think we all need to get them a Zebco rod and reel, let them start when they're 5 years old and just love to fish. And 5 might be late. Maybe you get them at 3 years old. So, but you have to supervise them. We don't want to hook in the finger. That's a big deal.
That is a pretty big deal. Well, with all that being said, I guess we'll see you guys next week.
Well, let's first, before we do that, let's tell them about the Huckleberry Apparel High School opportunity.
Yes.
Go to Huckleberry Apparel.
Go to huckleberry.com. We'll have all those links available in the description below. If you're any fishing team, it doesn't even have to be high school. It could be collegiate. It could be local fishing team, ice fishing. It doesn't have to be bass fishing either. Any fishing team, you can sign up at huckleberryapparel.com using the form provided, and you can get access to a really great fundraiser. And I think it's a really good tool to bring in some essential funds for your team.
I think that's good. Well said, Sarah Beth. And then remember the Mercury sweepstakes.
Yes.
We're giving away a Mercury outboard to repower your boat. I'm learning now. You could just go to the link. You don't even have to have a boat.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense to me. How do you repower a boat you don't even have? But nevertheless, you can go in there and vote for Hank Parker because it's coming down to the wire. I mean, we're talking a Bassmaster Classics just a couple of months out. I'm going to get a pie in my face at the Classic if you guys don't go vote to help me out. So go to this Mercury link
in the description, and it'll be right next to the Huckleberry ones. I'll label it. All you have to do is click that link, pop in your information, and the vote automatically goes towards Hank Parker.
Yeah, let's talk about that link. It is not at the bottom of the page. It's actually at the top, and where it says "See More."
It's in the description.
In the description.
So the description is right below the video. He's saying this because I got a text from Mama saying, "Where are these links at? I can't find the description."
Baby doll, we're old. So you have to go to where it says "See More."
See More to fully open the description. It's down at the bottom. Yes.
So go and don't click on the link. Go click on "See More."
See More, and then the link. There you go.
I love it. I love it, man. Technology.
Isn't that beautiful?
Tell them bye-bye, Sarah Beth.
All right, bye. See you guys next week.
Thanks for being with us. I sure appreciate it. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.